Good morning. This is John from the Springs Mennonite Church. And I'm here once again talking about Proverbs. And I have two verses I want to look at today. I hope you've found some wisdom in this little book and that you'll look even after I'm done and find more just for yourself. But today I want to look at chapter 8 and verses 10 and 11. And here's what it says. Choose my instruction rather than silver, and knowledge rather than pure gold. For wisdom is far more valuable than rubies. Nothing you desire can compare with it. The writer of Proverbs is telling us to choose. Now, here's what's really important. I don't care what's happened to you. I don't care what you're going through. I don't care how life has treated you. Maybe good, maybe okay, maybe fantastic, maybe bad. I don't know. You know. And at times it may have been all of those. But it's saying here that you should choose, even in the midst of everything that can happen to you. You still get to make choices. No one forces you to. You get to decide. It's called free will. And at least here in our culture, we value that. Other cultures, well, maybe not so much. But you and I, as we have lived our lives, have made choices. Hopefully, we made good ones. Some people don't make such good ones. But the point is that you, me, alone decided it. The devil didn't make us do it, as the old comic used to say. Mommy didn't make me do it. My boss didn't make me do it. We make our choices. And it says here to choose. And here are the two options given in verse 10. Choose my instruction rather than silver, and choose knowledge rather than gold. Now, it's not saying here that you won't have any silver or gold, meaning you won't ever get anywhere in life financially. That's not part of this discussion. But it's saying to make your first priority choosing God's instruction and knowledge. More important is that than anything you can possess, you can buy, you can earn. Now, for those of you listening to me who are quite comfortable financially, it's easy to say there, oh yeah, sure, absolutely. For those who aren't financially comfortable or are struggling, this is kind of hard to hear because the need for the gold and the silver is so overwhelming. But even in that situation and the first one, the priority that Proverbs is trying to share here is instructions from God and knowledge. It says, wisdom is more valuable than rubies, and nothing you desire can compare with it. Knowing God is more important than anything you can possibly achieve, do, or possess. Now, just recently, I had a conversation with a man who wanted to quote the Bible to me, and he was really good. I mean, he could quote verse after verse after verse. I can't do that. I never made that a high priority in my life. I know some of them, but I just didn't do that. I didn't think that was necessarily a good thing because, you can know everything in the Bible and not know God. I think there's a difference between memorizing passages of Scripture and memorizing the gist of the Bible for the sake of knowing God. The bottom line here is God's wisdom and God's knowledge and instructions. Now, I'll give you an example. My grandfather was a multimillionaire. He was very wealthy. People admired his business knowledge and his business successes. After he died, we discovered some documents that indicated that he wasn't nearly as lucky in his thoughts and his plans as he was in being politically connected. But that's another point. But my grandfather was not a nice man. In fact, sometimes he wasn't even friendly, but he was rich. And a lot of the family talked greatly about Granddaddy because he left them a lot of money. But it's the other things that he left that's so much, much more important that indicates he was wrong. I had an aunt tell me one time, I forget the discussion, but she made this comment. She said, John, why is it that everything in this family has to revolve around money? Well, I was rather astounded that my aunt would ask me that. But I told her, I said, well, it's because everything in this family has always been about money. That's what Granddaddy taught. I don't know what happened to my grandfather, eternally speaking. When he was alive, I wasn't in a position spiritually to ask him and talk to him about it. I wasn't even a Christian when he was alive. I didn't become a Christian till after he died. But I look at my larger family, and some of them have become really strong Christians, and others, they're just after the buck. What a legacy this man left. And I would suggest it wasn't necessarily a good one. Now, I say that to share that you can be wildly successfully financially and not have God's wisdom, and you really haven't gotten very far. Now, I understand that if that's the case, you think I'm just a nutty preacher talking to the wind. But I think not, because the day will come, as it came for my grandfather in the last 6 months of his life when his money did him no good. There will come times in our lives that only the wisdom of God will provide the necessary tools to understand what to do. So I encourage you to seek after the wisdom of God and follow the instructions of Him. Read them. Read them in order to understand who He is. Well, thanks so much for listening. I'll be back tomorrow. I have just a couple more of these things on Proverbs, and we'll move on to another topic. If you have a need or a concern, let us know, and I and we will do everything possible to meet your need as fast as we can. Thanks so much for listening. God bless you. I'll talk to you again